So we are here at Money 2020 Asia in Bangkok, and I'm speaking with Jame DiBiasio. Jame, how are you?
I'm great. Kenneth Pandit from FIS. This is a big return to tables here because normally
Absolutely.
I interview you, but today I think you're going to ask me something quick.
Yeah.
So this is a little scary.
Yeah, I'm going to be asking some really difficult questions.
Okay, all right.
But
Let's do it.
But I'll start off with an easy one.
All right.
So what brings you here to Money 2020 Asia, Jame?
Okay, so I run a online publication out of Hong Kong called DigFin, which is all about digital finance, fintech, digital assets. So obviously, everything to do with payments, fintech, blockchain, AI, all the stuff that people are talking about here is right up my alley. And so I'm here to meet as many people as possible, interview them, or just make connection.
So Jame, you had a new book come out recently. Talk to us a little bit about that, and if you had to call out one takeaway for fintechs from your book, what would that be?
So the book is called Planet VC. It's the story of venture capital outside of the United States. So it's how VC got started in different places around the world, mostly in Asia. And China is the one market that ended up developing let's call it a full stack for helping entrepreneurs go from startup to IPO. Other countries don't have the same breadth and depth, but China was able to do that with a lot of help from primarily American VCs that have been, or VCs in other parts of Asia, Singapore and Taiwan, that also eventually, if you go back, they were started with help from Silicon Valley. For fintechs, what it means is that you don't necessarily have to hope to get a big name from Silicon Valley to take an interest in you if you are a fintech startup in different Asian markets. There's now a very vibrant ecosystem of venture here, and so innovation and money go hand in hand. You cannot have innovation without capital, and VC is just the best route that people have figured out how to develop, get the incentives right to enable entrepreneurs to get the money they need to do the stuff that they can do, and benefit the investors behind that in a systematic way. So now that Asia's got a pretty well-developed ecosystem of venture and all the things, we're still, some parts are better than others. We've got a lot of Series A funds. It gets harder if you're going to go into B and C, larger deals. We don't, some places haven't really gotten all that mature, but it's amazing now. The past 20 years is completely different thanks to the arrival of basically this technology, if you want to call it that, of venture capital.
So let's put aside the recent sort of fintech funding winter that's set in.
Yeah.
Let's go back. If that same level of funding interest had sustained, right? Which market do you think would have been the next sort of big market to come up in terms of fintechs getting funded, innovative coming out of the market?
Well, I mean, it was China. We've seen, obviously, since about 2020, there's been a crackdown, political crackdown on what the Chinese regarded as technology companies that had gotten out of control and were no longer healthy for their society. But that's had a lot of ripple effects on how entrepreneurs can access money and also how they exit, which is also important. And now very sadly, because of geopolitical tensions, it's almost impossible now for money in Silicon Valley to go directly into China, or for Chinese companies, it's much harder for them now to find an IPO route in the United States. This is very lamentable. Hopefully things will ease off a little bit. But there are new places for Chinese companies to go, and there's new investors that want to get access to this. Beyond that, India and Southeast Asia are both, great stories right now. India in particular because it's got the size, it's got the potential to do all the things that China and the United States have done, although they have a long way to go. But most importantly, there's an IPO market in India now that matters. We saw. What is it, 197, the company behind Paytm, did a massive IPO. I mean, of course, then it was oversold and it's come down. But, the prospect is there for entrepreneurs to really kill it in their own marketplace, which is new. And that's exciting. And that just means there's going to be a whole, continuing waves of more money and more innovation, trying things out in places like that. So, long term, you have to be pretty bullish.
That's a great take. So coming to here now, we're at Money 2020 Asia. It's the first time this event is happening in Bangkok. You had the opportunity to, obviously meet with people, see some, probably quite a number of the exhibitors over here. Anything in particular that you'd like to call out? Something that you think is exciting?
Yeah, Cam. So I think, 5 or 6 years ago, the conversation was usually about fintechs disrupting the incumbents. Let's go get those terrible banks and make them, and take them down. That nobody talks like that anymore. What I'm hearing is everybody, whether you're a fintech, a commercial bank, or a central bank, everyone's worried about the same problems of how do we make particularly cross-border payments, since this is really a payments kind of fintech related, we're not talking about some of the other aspects, but how do we make money move better across borders, whether it's wholesale, retail, card, wallet, bank account. And so the tools that people are bringing are varied. They could be blockchain based, it could be more traditional ways of moving money. There are all these services people. It's getting more and more competitive, but I feel like everyone's kind of trying to figure out how do we do this in a way that we can interoperate, we can integrate, and we can all succeed and make a lot of money and grow the pie for everybody in this region and anybody who wants to interact with people in this region. People, businesses, enterprises. So everyone is trying to figure out how do we make the money move across the borders in a better way.
Faster, better,
cheaper, transparent, all that. And everybody's talking the same language. And it's, as I said, it's fiercely competitive. I think it's even more competitive now than it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago. And that's a good thing, because the only way we're going to get solutions is out of that competition. And I think we've gotten past that adolescent phase of, let's tear down the banks, man, let's do our own thing. And it's more like, okay, it's an ecosystem. We don't want one solution because there's no competition. What we want is lots of these solutions, but in a way that makes it more choice for the people to figure, and more opportunity for customers to be able to get the access they need in a way they can afford, so that more and more people can participate in this economy, particularly as it digitalizes. And in Asia, the pace of digitalization and use of mobile is super fast. So, this is still an exciting place to be.
If there is a particular segment area that you still think could do with some disruption, what would that be?
I think the place that is maybe most ripe for disruption is still within the legacy incumbent institutions. It's not that it's not like a moral argument. Oh, we should, the commercial bank is bad for me. That's silly and that's out of date. But these banks and the insurance companies and the asset, they're still operating on old legacy mainframe services, and that's just not going to cut it. They've been able to patch on middleware solutions, or they can, a vendor can come in and give them this or that. But I do think that with the rise of more and more data centers here, which are being fed by the AI revolution, there's going to be more and more opportunity and hopefully lower cost for people to be able to compute and store and compute data in a much more effective way. And banks have the breadth and the size that they need to come to grips with this in a meaningful way at some point. And the ones that really find good solutions, I think, will thrive. Those that keep putting this off, keep kicking the can down the road, and don't really address the problems with their core systems, I think they're going to start to really struggle, because the virtual banks are now going to, they could be a material threat if you don't figure out how to be supple and faster.
Or a credible demonstration of
how to do it.
Newer, lighter, agile ways of delivering products and services.
Yes. Yeah.
But to your point, in more developed markets, institutions that have built up tremendous legacy technology, I'm speaking from a tech sense, there is certainly a lot of tech debt to pay down, because they have to take that journey towards re-architecting, simplifying, modernizing. But there is the opportunity now with cloud service providers, right?
Exactly.
Data center providers, fintechs, that can take some of that,
help them figure it
compress,
out. Yeah.
take away part
Yeah.
of the problem, compress the time, time taken to be able to solve those issues. So exciting times there.
And
I
also
agree with
with
you.
and,
Yeah.
and some of the, I mean, I'm not a big crypto fan, but some of the underlying technology blockchain that allows for atomic settlement it can be a game changer. And we're seeing now a lot of banks taking seriously things like programmable payments or deposit tokens or whatever you want to call it for commercial bank money going on chain. And I think this is another way for them to find ways to compress down reconciliation, settlement times, free up capital so that they can do other things instead of pre-funding all their trades. And that will enable them, I hope that will help them find ways then to move other more difficult parts of the business that have resisted change. It'll free them up. They'll be able to spend more focus on that and get that core sorted.
There's the applicability of, there's the applicability of the underlying technologies that we're talking about. That could happen in many innovative ways. Final takeaways on the event. What would you like to see more next year?
Yeah, okay. So I think this has been a really good event. I think the Money 2020 people have done a good job of organizing it. I think Bangkok's a terrific venue. This conference hall at Queen's Circuit is fantastic. I'm really impressed by this. The layout's good. So I've really enjoyed my time here, and I've managed to meet a ton of people. I think just next year they just have to build on this and get more people. We've had a good turnout, but I think we could just keep ramping that up. And I'm sure that's what they want to do, right? I mean, the numbers here compared to what they do in the Netherlands and the U.S. is still modest. It shouldn't be, because Asia is. I mean, there's more trade and more finance here. I mean, 40% of global GDP is here. Let's build this one up.
More.
Yeah, just great start. Next year, build on it. Just keep building up more people, and I'm sure they'll do that.
Great, fantastic speaking with you, Jame. As you would notice by now, no difficult questions. I kept it for the next time, so there's another opportunity.
Okay, thanks, Cam. Great to see you.
Likewise.